Hello everyone, welcome to Redbus US channel. In this video, we'll look at the new proposed rule by DHS where they plan to change the H1B lottery process to use wage levels. It can impact up to 163,000 H1B filings per year. So if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe to our channel for getting regular updates. So here is what we'll cover in this video. We'll look at the background, we'll look at why they're doing this, and also how the whole thing will work, how it will impact and how they come up with the numbers. So that's what we'll look at in this video. So firstly, this is the news. The first thing is it was on USCIS website that you can see, and this is the document that was actually published that's linked there. Yeah. Now, background, why are they changing this H1B lottery process, right? So, a couple of years ago, they changed the lottery and they introduced H1B registration lottery where they have a new system. Now, this is a new change where they fundamentally want to change the H1B lottery process. So, the reason for that, as mentioned in that in the regulation document, is firstly, based on Trump's Buy American, Hire American policy. That was the executive order that came about a couple years ago. And the second one is the President Proclamation, where President signed telling that to ban H1B workers' entry to protect the US labor market. In that, he suggested do everything you can to actually come up with rules that will help US workers. So these also outshoot of that. And the third one is majority of the H1B filings, as per them, are in level 1 and level 2. And if you look at the distribution, right, about 85% of the regular cap filings are, and 90% of the regular master's cap filings are in that wage levels. So this is the statistics, as you can see on the screen, the table that is part of the regulation. Excuse me. Level 1 and below, you can see about 31.5%, and level 2 is 53.7% for regular cap. So that's about 85 close to, right? And the other similarly for masters. So these are real numbers, that they've actually looked at last 2019 and 2020. So their logic is if H1B program is for highly skilled workers as per the statute, then higher wage levels should be given for higher skilled workers. So the idea is, the wage corresponds to the skill. So that is the argument that they do. And they say that currently with the lottery, many level 1 and level 2 are being hired, and there is no way to assess that if they're high skilled or not. So that's why they want to get rid of that and come up with this process. Now the third, the rule is, they need to have the authority, right? So what they say is the DHS has the authority, and Congress has given the discretion in case where they have equal number of petitions coming on the same day, or situations like lottery, right? So this is the background why they want to change this rule. So again, this is driven by the job loss, the COVID, and all, a plethora of things that have been accumulated over the period of last few years. Now, what are the basics, right? So this rule is in proposed stage only. So very, very important. So this is not final. It is in proposed stage. And right now it is being published to get public comments. So the rule is not final, not effective. So nothing to panic yet. It is to be published in Federal Register. So they do not have a date, and they're very likely to publish this very soon. So we don't have that in Federal Register, but they've released the document though. So as per the regulatory process, they need to follow all the nine steps. So this is what will happen. And DHS is triggering this process step called Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, which is NPRM, which is a step that is typically done as part of the entire process. And when they do this process, they get comments from public. So the idea is they will use these public comments and respond to them, and take the suggestions wherever possible, accommodate them as part of the rule. Yeah. So that is what this process is going to look like. And it's a big document, massive 100-page document, and so I read through the entire 100-page document to get an idea of the whole how the whole thing looks like. Yeah. So now, in terms of basics, some of you may know this, you can skip this part, but if you're not, you need to understand what LCA is, wage level, and SOC code is. So every H1B petition that's filed with USCIS needs an LCA to be certified by US Department of Labor. So this is like a required document that is certified by Department of Labor, telling that a person would be paid X amount of wage and in particular location, and this is the job code that's tied to that, right? So the LCA has something called a wage level, which is defined based on experience and the location, and it also has SOC code. Yeah? So a combination of all of these determines the wage level. And SOC code is a standard occupations classification code. It's one of the common ones that is used, and it basically groups a bunch of job titles under that, and it's think of it as a category, right? And the wage levels are set by the US Department of Labor, how the things would work. They've given like a big document on how the whole thing works, and there are essentially 4 wage levels: level 1, 2, 3, 4, and the higher level wage level means the more salary and more experience. So that's what it is. And they publish wage levels in FLC Data Center. It's official website, and it's based on Occupational Employment Statistics wage data, OES wage data. So this is from Department of Labor. So based on all of these things, that's how the LCA works, and this is the information that will be used now for lottery. So it's very, very important for that. Now, what is changing with the new regulation or the new rule that is in the making is the LCA wage level will be used for selecting in the lotteries. So what they say is wage level is a good indication of skill level, and their data supports it. So what it means is, if let's say you are a high skilled person and you have a lot of experience, then your wage level will be higher and you're paid more. Basically, that's what they say. So what they do is, as part of this process, whenever the registration period closes, usually it's for 20 days, once it's closed, they rank all the received H1B registrations in an order as per wage levels. And employers will have to indicate this wage level in the new registration process as well with this, right? So once DHS sorts these H1B registrations based on wage levels, then they select the most ones which have the higher wage. So if you want to put it in that way, right? So basically they will take all the registrations and they will sort them in descending order, like the wage level 4 will be on the top and wage level 1 will be in the bottom. So they'll sort them in that, and they'll pick the ones from wage level 4, and they go from top to bottom. So basically all the level 4 ones will be picked first, and if they do not meet the cap, then they will go for level 3, and then if they meet if they do not meet even with level 3 the quota cap, then they will go to further down the list. So it's a very simple method, right? But there are some challenges. We'll discuss how the whole thing will work. Now the question is, okay, what if there are less registrations, and what and how many are you actually selected, right? So these are a couple of questions that come in, and as per the registrations selected, they've given statistics. Every year about 85,000 H1B registration selected as per quota cap, and USA selects more than 85,000 to account for denials, withdrawals, or revoke, all these things, right? And they've given statistics for fiscal year 2019 and 2020. They've selected about 110K and 109K, approximately 110K, right? And they expect to have similar selections for the next fiscal year. And in terms of distribution, this is a new stat that we never had in the past. It was not very clear how much was for each. So this is an important statistic for all of you to remember, that USAs would pick approximately 110K petitions for meeting the 85K quota cap, and in that 83K will be regular and 27K will be masters. Again, these are approximate numbers based on the last year's numbers. So you can look at this is the distribution that you can expect, right? So that's in terms of how many will be selected. Now, what if there are less registrations than the required for H1B cap? Meaning, the cap is about 85K. If let's say there are only 80,000 petitions filed, 80,000 registrations submitted, then what will be done? So in such case, there will not be any lottery done, and there will not be USCs will not conduct any of these wage level related selection process for this, right? So I mean, in the first 20 days, right? I mean, usually last year it was 20 days. It can be anywhere from 14 days and above. So if there are less number of petitions or less number of registrations, then they will not really use these wage levels thing. And the reason is quite logical. There is no need, right? I mean, they're less than 85,000. What is the point in doing this thing, right? But the reality, if you look at it, we had H1B lottery for the last 8 years, and on an average there were about even last year there were about 275K petitions. Now, what if many H1B registrations on the same level, right? So this is another question that often comes up, and they have given a solution for that. If there are more petitions on the same wage level, then DHS will conduct random lottery for selecting that wage level. So, for example, if let's say they have filled up level about 60K slots with level 4 and level 3 for out of 85K cap, and now they're left with 25K. Now, when they look at the entire pool of registrations, they have about 100K pool left on level 2 wage, but now they only need 25K slots, right? So what they do is now they would run lottery on this 100K level 2 ones to pick the 25K slots. So this is the way it works, right? So again, there is a little bit of lottery involved when there are same wage levels available. And there are other variants of this, variants of the rule as well. Like if there are multiple locations for H1B worker, in that case they will pick the one with the lowest wage level. Meaning if you're working in, like, let's say a small place, where the wage level is going to be low, or another city, I don't know, or the job is different in different locations. In that cases, right, you have different wage levels. Then they will pick the one with the lowest. And also they have given another important thing, telling that even let's say you file for a certain level, let's say you file for wage level 3 in the lottery or in the registration process, and then you cannot file an amendment or extension in the middle of the year after that, telling that you're going to change the wage level to a lower wage level. So this is to avoid people gaming the system, right? I mean, you can see people can game the system by filing all of them in higher wage level, and then they actually reduce it. So if you do that, they will actually penalize you for that, and they will revoke. Yeah, so that's what they say. Now there will be no change in the order of lottery. So as you can see on the screen, this is the typical flow. So the first they will select the H1B regular quota cap petitions, and then the unselected ones will be masters will be taken another pool, and then they select 20K. So this has not changed. This, whatever you see on the screen, the flow is what we had in the past. So there is nothing changing there. Now what happens is, when the important question is, whenever you submit the registration, you need the information what you would have an LCA, but you may not get an LCA before 6 months and all. So the challenge is not having an LCA. But what they say is employer has to declare in good faith what they will declare in the LCA when they file the H1B petition. Yeah. So you need to put that information of SOC code and wage levels, what you plan to have in LCA, and that's what you need to do. And in terms, sometimes there are no wage rates available for certain cities. In such cases, right, or certain locations, DOL suggests that they ask to follow the DOL suggestion. So if you go to FLC data center, they actually give suggestions on what the approximate wage would be in such cases and all. And of course, DH is also seeking, I would say, suggestions on how to look at this, right? So this is the actual text that is from the regulation. As you can see, DHS expects each employer to be able to provide relevant wage level in submitting the registration. That's what it reads, and SOC code. Yeah, you can read this as well. Yeah. Now, what is the impact of this, right? This is a pretty big change, and the impact of this is they actually did the forecast in the wage in the document, and as per the DHS forecast based on 2021 numbers, there are about 66K registrations that were filed in level 1 and level 2, and 97K for level 1 and level 2 for master's cap. So net on net, it impacts about 163K H1B filings. That's the forecast, and this is the actual table that is actually in the rule. As you can see clearly, the portions highlighted in yellow, you see that level 1 and below, they'll not be selecting. There'll be 0 basically, as per if the new after the new wage levels rule is effective, it will be 0, and here also 0. So level 2, only 75% will be selected in regular cap, and 20% in master's cap. So the master's cap is going to be hit very, very hard here if you notice this carefully. Yeah. So that's about the impact. Now it's important, now if you're looking for a job, right, or you are trying to change employers, or I mean if you're looking for an H1B job or trying to join a company, you need to understand what are the typical wage level distributions they have done in the past, so that their propensity to hire and how much salaries they're paying. So in this aspect, H1B Grader has done a good job launching a feature yesterday, which helps you look at a company and come up with check the wage levels they have done. So for example, as you can see on the screen, Facebook have for their wage level 2 is only 8.4%, the distribution. But on the other hand, if you look at Infosys about 65% of their LCAs on wage level 2. So this means that you should look at a company like Facebook. I mean, not exactly Facebook, but something that has a distribution that is different, so that you are going to be in a safe place when you go for H1B lottery next year. Now, in terms of next steps, so you will have 30-day comment period once it's published in Federal Register, and 60 days for the information collection. So it's not final yet. So that's the next steps. And in terms of lawsuit, some of them are asked for this. So the rule is in NPRM state, meaning you're getting public comments. So it's not final yet. So you cannot have a lawsuit, and public will give comments. The lawsuit only comes into picture after the rule is implemented and it doesn't meet certain things. So in net on net, right? If you look at the new wage level rule is better than random lottery. The reason at least there is a path towards getting selected in H1B, right? Let's say you go to Harvard or Stanford and you get a job in Goldman Sachs or any of these large companies, and you make a lot of money, and you're one of very highly qualified person. In the past, you had to go through this random lottery which was not in your control. Now at least you can get a job that is at a higher wage level, so that you have a chance to be picked in this lottery, so that you don't have to worry about that. And it's good for many who have better wage levels and who are better qualified. Of course, it's bad for IT services companies because they have been holding a lot of lower wage level workers. So it's bad for the IT services companies because it will impact their their bottom line, because their cost increases. Of course, it's good for the employees because now they'll have to be paid more. So that's it, folks. I know it's a lengthy video. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for watching. Hope this was helpful. Do subscribe for getting regular updates, and we'll keep you posted.